Welcome to another episode of Building Meditation App with React Native Expo, Firebase, and OpenAI API. On this episode, we are going to create one of the most useful experiences on the app journey, which is the onboarding. Majority of apps on production, they have some sort of onboarding process where after the sign up or after the first login, the user goes through a couple of questions and the app can be customized according to those questions. So in this episode, we are going to create a dynamic flow of onboarding where you can use this in any of your apps in production. Let's see how it works. So after the user logs in, if the user haven't done this before, we'll send them to this onboarding stack, which is going to be some questions, for example, name, age. These are all the questions to get to know the user better, so we can customize the app experience for the user. All this done dynamically, and we are going to have an array of objects which controls this whole screen. So you can add, remove any of these questions, and your onboarding screen will react accordingly. So this will help you in production, and you can serve these objects from your CMS, from your backend. So anytime you want, you can change this experience on the fly. Let's get started. Okay, as you can see, user login or sign up and they go through some questions which we can get some more information about user, save it to the database as user information, user data, and we use this information to customize our app for the user. This is usually after sign up, we send them to this onboarding stack, and after they've done this once, we save the data, and the next time they sign in or they log in, they go straight to the app. So how it works is you need to create another stack for this. As you can see here, I'm trying to create another stack here. Basically, this is the stack, onboarding stack. And we're gonna have another hook, basically another state. The user is logged in, and if they have onboarding. So you just have a state of has onboarding. At the moment, I'll put it false for development reason, and then we can actually create a hook which checks the backend, which checks our database and see if the user actually created it, if the user has done this before. So they just skip the onboarding and send them to the app. Let's create this. So for now, we say if the user is not logged in, we definitely auto stack. So they are not logged in, they need to log in. After they logged in, we say the user is logged in and they don't have onboarding. So it has onboarding is false. Then we show them this onboarding stack. If the user is logged in and has onboarding, then we show them this app stack. So basically that's the first time they get into the app. They haven't done this. So they go to this screen. They have done this, they go to this screen. So we need to create this onboarding stack. I'm going to this navigation files and onboarding stack tsx, and I'm just copying the same structure as we have here. This is the same stack, just we need to change it on onboarding stack. Onboarding is wrong. Onboarding stack. Great. Onboarding stack. At the moment we're gonna have one screen. We can have it as a screen as well here. Just instead of a stack, we can have a screen, but we might need this later on to have different screens on onboarding, like suggesting something, asking them to choose a different sort of plans or something. Anyway, I created as the standard, you have different stacks. I created as a stack. So this stack would have one component at the moment is going to be onboarding questions. Again, onboarding questions, and call them onboarding question stack and onboarding questions as on the screen. So we need to create this screen. We don't need these basically. So none of these or this. It's just navigation, status, blah, blah. Yeah, onboarding questions. I'm going to create this in our screens, of course. And we have this onboarding folder. We have app art. I created this onboarding folder and we can just add it here. Stateless component, which is going to be onboarding questions. So we need to import this onboarding questions. Great. And then also the stack. Great. So now after we log in, because the state at the moment is false, it should send us to this stack. Okay, let's try. I could sign up with a new user. Let's try. Great, onboarding is stacked. So you can see if I change this state, if you have done the onboarding, it sends us to the home screen. We haven't done it, so we are here. Let's do something else just for user experience, because like when we are pressing this login, it seems there is nothing happening because there is no state of loading. Nothing is showing the user as a good user experience that something is going on. So the user know that they need to wait for something. So let's quickly create something just for the sake of user experience. So on the Zen button, we create something in the state of, let's get rid of these errors because we want to have this inline because we want to probably pass props and change this on the fly. Okay, what I'm going to do is adding the state of loading, which is Boolean. Be passing this loading to our button. When the loading happens, I can have this children, which is at the moment like this login text. I can say if it's loading, then we're using this API called activity indicator. Okay, great. So if that happens, it's activity indicator. If not, it's our text. So if this is what it looks like, you see, like it just shows that something is loading, something is happening. And if it's loading, we can say if it's not loading, the onPress is responsive because like when it's loading, something is happening. So we don't want the user to double click on this and do something that we probably don't want to. Okay. So if it's loading, show the indicator. And if it's not loading, show whatever it is. And if it's not loading, you can press. If it's loading, you can't press. Easy. Okay. For our state of sign up, use authentication. So we can add just something here, just in the state of loading, which is very standard on all the hooks and stuff that we want to know if something is loaded or the state of loading, basically. So we can, on register, set the loading true. Easy. And when you're also trying to log in, set it to true. Whenever the thing are done, you want to, okay, yeah, just at the end of this, you want to return false. These returns are not necessary because we're not using them. Yeah, set it false. Whenever this happens and either fails or it's successful after this try and catch, just turn it false. That's it. For logout, I don't think we need it for logout, but yeah, just let's add also for logout to have a consistent pattern. And then we just return this loading state. And if I'm going to login screen, okay, so we need to say this loading is optional. We can just not pass it. Great. Okay, so where that comes from is from this hook. We have this return of loading, and then we just pass it here, basically. We just pass it to our button. So our button knows exactly if things are loading, then display the loading state. Great. And also we need the same thing on the sign up screen. So we say on, or basically loading, it's loading, and this loading is coming from user authentication as we return this on both. Yeah. So see, like loading is something that's happening and it sends the user here. Anyway, that's like something for user experience, is make your app, these little details basically makes your app more responsive, and a user feels much better using it and know exactly what's going on behind the scene. So it has onboarding false. So you want to just go to this and work on this one. One other thing, we don't want this header on any of our screen. If you see our design, we don't have that header anyway. So we don't want it anywhere. And what we can do is just create something like cons navigation option, define it here once, and we say header shown false. And there is something, we don't need to pass it to each screen. Actually, we don't probably need it here as well. There is like another prop here called screen options. So on each of the screen, there is an options that you can say, what do you want on the screens, on the headers, everything, the titles, colors, whatever. And if you want all of the screens under that navigator, basically, and if you want all of the screen have similar options, you can just pass it to screen options. And that's it. So I can just simply put it here because you're not going to repeat this anyway. It's going to be here only. Okay. We got rid of that. We need to go to our onboarding questions. This is where our onboarding screen, these are screens, which is dynamically renders all the questions are happening there. So what we want, again, it's our background screen wrapper. We created this to reuse it anywhere we want. And then there is image tag where we want our background image. Let's import it first. Import background. Do I have it? No, we need to actually export it. We just go there, grab this, preview. Yeah, we need this background basically. Background has the tint of black, which makes all these text and everything more contrast between that to be more visible. And we put it like on 2x to just have a better quality PNG and export this background. Right. What's going on here? Yeah. Background image from this Copilot AI is really cool. It just makes your life much easier. Anyway, I'll put this here and here we go. We have what we want. So let's go plan how we want to create this. I'm going to use flex boxes. I'm going to use 3 flex boxes where we have these progress bars where we show the user where they are on the onboarding progress. And then this mid section, which is the question and the way that the user answers. And then these buttons basically. So 3 flex boxes where the middle one gets more space than these 2 top and bottom one. So let's go and create that for now. I'll create a view and style container. I want to have one container, which is, let's see, which is my main container of the screen, which is flex 1 and align item center, justify content center. Just like puts everything in the center and expand to the whole screen. Great. So let's do this to just make sure that we are doing the correct thing. I just put a Zen text then text. I'll say this is progress. This is the top part, progress. And this is the top part. I need another view with the style of, I would say, progress wrapper. Great. The progress wrapper would be, again, flex one, yes. And I would say, let's put it in the center. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so this is the top part. We want a similar thing, but this is the mid part, mid section. This is where our questions and answers are, the multi-choice questions. So we'll say question wrapper. Question wrapper. This is where we have, yes, tree, flex tree. Like this is, it's more space. We need more space for this middle part, basically. And then if I save this at the moment like this, we need another one, basically. That's for our button. So I would say this is our button wrapper, and then flex one, again, justify line item center, justify content center. We love this with everything in center. This is the button. As you can see now, we have the structure. We have the progress, mid section, and a button. Okay, we have now the base of what we want at the moment. Leave this base at the moment. So we are creating 3 different components. Zen button, we have the Zen button. Let's just put it here anyway. Zen button on press, we don't know yet. We will create that. And great. So we have this beautiful button created there. What we want here, we want this question, onboarding questions. If I, on the data, I'm creating onboarding questions. Yes. So these are all the questions, onboarding questions. So for the onboarding, I have these questions like this, basically. So it's like array and items. Like each of these is a question that we want to ask a user. We don't want to create each screens individually. We want to have a sort of dynamic way to control our onboarding. So if later on you want to add or remove any of these questions, you just edit this object. This can be also served through your database from the backend, from your CMS. And one other thing for these questions, I have a key. So this key, basically, we would recognize what sort of item they actually answered. So let's go through this. I would create a question carousel because it's going to be a carousel. And passing questions through here. And my questions is onboarding questions. Okay, we need to just create this now. Under my components, I'll create this file. Great. So what we want at the moment, we know we want questions. Questions has a type. Questions are an array of these items, which has ID, question, key, type, and options, which some of them don't have. It's optional. So what I'm going to do for our convenience later, I'm going to, in utils, I'm going to create something called types. Yes, and we can add our types here, basically. Export type questions. Let's say onboarding questions props. Question props. Onboarding question props equal to well, it gets it for us, and it's, so yeah, on the type of this, and then options. What we can do is just make these nicer. We can have also, export type options. Options would be, it would be this. And then here we say options, and this is the onboarding question options. Just make sure that it's makes sense. The key is a string, the question is a string, the ID is a string, and that's all we want. I think we can use this. Okay, so we have like the questions. The questions would be onboarding question props. That's what the questions are, basically. And here also onboard. My bad. Onboarding questions I made a mistake here. Okay, now we're gonna have some problems. Onboarding question prop, yes. Change it, please. And also this. Great. Does not exist, so we just need to import this. Questions, it says, yeah, options. What we need to do under types, I made one mistake. Okay, what happens is that this is going to be an array of these type. This is the actual type, and it's for one item, and we have an array of these questions under the question. So now basically, yeah, for some reason is just, okay, what we need to do is basically, I just created this, I changed this type to string. Okay, so we pass the questions and we have this question carousel component. What we need to do here, we need to actually we need to map through these questions. So one way we can do is this questions.map. We get the questions, and then there is like a question key inside that question. And if you can see, I just have these questions here, basically. That's not what we want. We want ask a question, get an answer. When the user actually answered that question, then press next. Or if it's a multi-choice, press the multi-choice and we move to the next screen or to the next question, basically. One way we can do is like map through this and do all these here. Create a carousel, basically, that you just move around. Or the best way for performance, and it's all for the sake of React Native, is flat list. Flat list is basically, it's a way of looping through some sort of arrays and create components, but has optimizations in terms of re-rendering, optimization in terms of rendering all those components that they are not presented on the screen. Is great when you're using images, components with lots of images, maybe thousands of components. Maybe for this case is a bit overdoing it, but at the same time, it's good to get to know flat list and how to use it, basically. It's the best thing for performance when you are mapping through things and you want React to handle all the performance. You want to scroll and you just render things that on the screen and don't render things that are the components that are off the screen. So it just handles everything for you. So for performance, I always suggest that you use, when you're mapping through something, always use flat list. Data would be questions, of course. Data is questions. Then there is another here. Let's see this. Render item. Render item is one of the props on flat list, which basically returns items, each items inside the question. So it's basically map through them and give us this access to these item each time, and we can do whatever we want with this item. Again, if I save this, again, same scenario, just map through these and it puts our questions basically right there for us. This is the start of it. So we won't want that. There is another thing that we discussed. Each of these, when you render map through something, you need to add the key so React knows which component it's rendering. Always have a reference to that, as you just passing a unique ID to the keys. So you're not going to have any weird production bugs because you didn't pass this key. Always remember to pass the key. But in terms of flat list, it has like something called key extractor. Again, it gives you back item. An item has ID. These are the IDs. Each item is this. And these are the IDs that we are getting. These are the questions, key, type that we are getting out of it. So now, yeah, that's it. That's great for now. Then what we want is we want each of these questions horizontally mapped through this screen. So basically we see the first question, we answer it, then we go to the next one, which is on the right side of this screen, basically. What we can do is there is a prop called horizontal, easy. So it just maps everything in a horizontal matter. And there is another prop called snap to interval, which I put like a screen bit. We want to like a snap through these questions. So basically there, and also you need to select your component needs to be the width of the screen. We need to actually create a component for each of our questions. So the question, let's say question item. I'll call this question item. Okay. What question item means? It needs a question. Do I pass it like this? The actual question, let's see. It needs an item, basically. We just pass the whole item to this question item. Yes, we just pass the item. Item is one individual item as we are passing through. And also we pass that through question item. Let's create this question item in our component. In our component, I'm going to create a question item, TSX, stateless component. Yes, question item. What we are getting is the item. What the item is actually the individual questions we have. So it's onboarding question props. That's the item. Great. This is basically the props that we created on the types. So it's basically this. It has ID, question, key, and potentially could have options. Let's go back here. And then also, what else we want is when the user answer, we would have a function called onAnswer, which this function will pass us the value. This is the answer the user actually gives us, which is in form of a string. Either is a multi-choice. So if you see here, the answer would be probably this, manage stress. For example, for this reason, they would answer to manage stress anxiety, and this is the key that we are serving. Reason is this. Or here, like basically, how familiar are you with meditation? Experience is never. Experience is few. These are the answers that the user will give us by choosing these multi-select. Or in terms of their name, it's their name, basically. The key name, and it's the name. So this, we are going to add something that is going to update our answer. So we need like a function called update, and update answer, basically get the item key and the value. So the key, again, the key is this age, and the value, whatever age the user enters. By the way, don't confuse this number and text as like a type number and text. This is basically We want to know what sort of keyboard to present to the user. Is a number only when we ask the user for their age. We don't want them to type a character. We want them to type a number, basically. And when they ask for their name, we want them to have a full keyboard as a text keyboard. This is the type of the keyboard we're going to present to the user. Okay, so we need this. Maybe we can import this at the moment. On answer, we need to create this. Let me just get rid of this and we will explain how this works. And we need the answer itself, answers. And all of these, like the answers and answers item. Let me just clear this for now. And answers. Answers would be an object, basically. Answers would be an object. So the best way on TypeScript to just say how this would work. Also, you can have something like record, string, which is, this is the key. This is what the response is. So you can just have it this. This is a type that you're passing. It's an object. If you go here and put just object, so you type object. Yeah, if you do this, this can be an object. This can be also a date. If you just look at the date object, it's an object, but we don't mean that object. There are a lot of different things in JavaScript as objects. So you need to select what sort of object is this, which is an object that has this and this. What's wrong? Yeah, always have this optional chain when you're just getting an item, a value from something else. Because in case that you miss something and you don't have that value and it's going to be undefined, and then you're going to get another thing from somewhere that is on something that is undefined, your app is crashed like this. And in production, it's embarrassing. So it's better to have these optional chains that always add these optional chains. Just even if you are sure that it exists, you never know. For some reason, it might not. But in TypeScript, actually, we eliminate that to a certain extent. But again, like just it doesn't hurt. It just makes sure that if this exists first, looks for this. If this exists, then looks for this. So it's a perfect way to do that. Anyway, so yeah, we need this answer on answer. Basically, it's void. Yes, on answer, and an answer is a string. There is something. Yeah, I'll just put these anyway. Answer is a string. Okay. So I go back. Where does this answer and set answer and update answer comes from? Let me go back one level. So on our main screen, so here, like where we want to manage all of our state. So I return this. An onboarding question screen. This is the onboarding question. And also let me just rename this to onboarding question screen because it's more obvious what this is about. This is actually a screen, so you're just more clear about what we are doing, basically. Yeah, for now it's fine. So we have this answer. So how this answers would look like, it would be name and the name of the user. Probably doesn't need this anyway. And then age, then the age of the user, then reason, what reason it is. So this is when we are just going through this onboarding and actually complete all these questions, our answer state would look something like this, basically. So it's all these states and like that. What do we need to do now is that we just pass the answers here, answers, and we need something like update answers. Let me see like what we called it here. Yeah, on answer. Oh, sorry, like update answer. Update and maybe call it update answers. Okay, our update answer. Let me just update this as well. So we are passing these update answers here. And update answers is gets the key value. And so the update answers gets the key from the item key, which again, let me show you. This is the item key, age. And the answer is the value that we are passing on the next screen. If you see here, we haven't done that part. We're going to pass a value there, basically. We need a key value. And if you see on our screen, we just like getting this key, getting that value, and yes, setting the answer. So we have the previous answer, like set answer as user state. Let me just get rid of this. Yes, okay. So set answer, like always, like the states, user state has this data, basically. It returns the previous state. You can use the previous state from here, but it's better performance, it's better practice, I think. You can just, let me just show you the other way around. So you can always get the answers. So this is like our current state, spread it out and add the new key, which is, for example, name, age, and the value. So you keep adding this to this object and updating this object. So yes, that's one way. But I think like better practice and better coding practice is just get this previous state from here. Awesome. So update answers. That's it. So now we can update this answer. At the moment, we don't need this prop. Let me just get rid of this. We are not importing anything right now on the screen. We have this error. Let me just see what's happening on onboarding stack. Onboarding stack. It's probably onboarding stack screen. Yep. Let's get rid of this. Yeah. Okay. We changed the name of this to a screen to be more descriptive. Okay, now let's go and style this part. So it doesn't have any style at the moment, and then start to just test our state and how it works, basically. So let's go to start this. The fun part is styling. What do we want? So we have this carousel, we have this flat list, and then each of them has this question item. Let's do this for now. We need a Zen text. And we want to display the question first, item.question. Great. Then this is going to be the subtitle. If you just look at the design, what size this is, it's 17. Okay, so we don't have the size 17 here. I'll create a subtitle. We probably don't need these. So when there is like a one line if, I'm not gonna add this. So title of font size 16. Said like 17. Let's go with that. Subtitle, which is under this. And subtitle is Boolean. what have we done? Yeah, so subtitle. Great. Okay, so we go back here. Okay, now it's nice, and then bold maybe. Okay, for now we just go with this. The container of this needs to be width of screen width. We want each of these questions to take all the screen width, because we want to present each question in each screen, and then we go to the next one and next one. So width, screen width. Okay, so now the next questions are on different screens. That's great for now. Then I think let's go with our justify content center and align item center. Great. Just puts everything in the center of the screen. Right now it doesn't snap. We're not going to let the user to just scroll, because we want to make sure they answer this question before they go to the next one. So, but if you are creating a carousel and you want it to just be, to have this snapping, I would suggest, because this is, for example, now it does it, but it just according to the speed that I'm scrolling. So if I add this, disable interval momentum, is always a snap to the next one, even if I go really fast. Anyway, we're not going to use this. We don't let the user to scroll in this stage anyway. But that's something. Okay, for now, this is fine. What we need to do, we need to just make this component conditional. So basically, we would say, if the item has options and the options has length. Yeah, so it means if there is an option and the options has also length like this, means this is a multi-choice. Or we can just use this type multi. We can just make it, if the item dot type is equal to multi and it has options. So we map through this options. So option, and then for some reason option, okay, option dot value dot value, and then option dot key value. We can use the key here as well, option dot key. So if I go to something that has options, we just map through. These ones don't have options, so it doesn't show. So what we need for these, this is the ones that the text and number. We say if item dot type is equal to text, or item dot type is equal to number. If these or this, then do this text, then text input, which is have placeholder. Also, like for just having a placeholder, let's do this. So for having a nice placeholder that is customized for whatever options you have, you can just also add something like placeholder and then say enter your name. Same thing. Placeholder, enter your age. This is just to show, see, like this is enter your age, this is enter your name. We just need to add this to the type. So our types also knows that there would be also a placeholder, and then we can just make it optional. Yeah, so now we have our placeholder. So now we can just see what's happening. Anyway, like on the on text change, there is like this prop on text change, and it gives you the text, and then you use it on answer, pass the answer the user is giving, which is this text. You can just use it like this as well. You don't need that. So it basically gets that on text, put it inside this function. So you don't need to create it like that. Anyway. Great. Yeah. This is this part. If I'm just going at the moment, let's see if everything's working. Clear this. If I'm going to like save this, going where my status is, I log this state, log my answer state, answer. Okay, so if I put my name, it's just keep adding to the state. I go to the next one, age. It keeps adding. So like my state is getting updated with all these values dynamically. And I can change the objects and it just, everything changes, all the questions changes, and it's a great way to do that. Let's just design this. Let's go to this part. So we have these, it just basically something like this, and then selected has this background. Maybe you can change the way that it's selected, because right now it just doesn't look really obvious anyway. So the way that it works is we go to this question carousel again, question item. And in case, like we said, it's a multi and it has options, we are going to create a button, then option button. They might need to use this later on. So this would have a key basically, yeah, because it's like we're mapping through, and the option is basically, let's see what the option is. The option is these value and key, each of them. So we can put like the key here, because this key would be unique. And the text of this basically is option dot value, as this text basically that you can see here. On press, option dot key. Yes, on press basically we want the key, option dot key. So we want like the answer of the user is basically, we want to get this key as the answer of the user. This is the key of the question, and this is the key of these options. So we want to have this as a key. Yeah, that's for now. I'll create this component. Create this component. Things that we need to pass through is, we don't need the key, we need the text, the onPress, which is again, the text is a string, onPress is a void function. Text, let me put the text here for now. This will be Zen text, maybe bold, and onPress would be, yeah, these needs to be wrapping under a touchable opacity. So anything that you need to have a press function, you can choose one of these, touchable highlight, touchable. I use touchable opacity because it basically gives you feedback on how the item pressed. And then there was, if you remember, there was active opacity, put it like slightly showing that. Then it has a container. Okay, I probably like going this because I want to see if this item is selected or not, then react to this accordingly. So this is going to be conditional. I'm gonna render the styles here. So my background color, let's see. We need this background and this background. We have this background. I don't think we have this background. Let's create this in our colors. Create, export, where we have the surface. This is the color we want. Export const. Call it gray light equal this. Let's make sure we export it here as well. This would be conditional. So I can also do this as well. So here is selected. We can just get this state of selected from the parent component. It's a boolean. So we say if it's selected, surface color, maybe colors dot surface color, colors dot, okay, or if it was this or this, gray light. It is not selected. I haven't imported this yet. Button. See how it looks. It's also not something not happy with. Yeah, it's selected. We haven't passed it selected. Let's like make this also optional. Unpress also goes here. Is selected. Okay, so somehow like we want to do this. I put is selected equal to. So we want to say if the options, like we have like the answer, we know like what the answer user select. And we want to say if this answer that the user selected is equal to this key. So we always add the answer as a key. So like we know, we want to see if that option user is selected that answer basically. If that answer option key is equal to this answer, means this is selected. So I can go like this. And yeah, you can't see now probably, but yeah, if we do this, it just changed the background. It just means that selected. If you see a reason, it just keeps updated. So it's start working. And it shows also the background. So we need to just style this component inside. So basically this one. Yes, I would say that this will be has a width, screen width. Let's see how this works. I would say the width. Let's say the width like 100%. You say the height 45. You see in the design, these are 45 as a height. Let's get rid of this because we want actually here, we want it like inline style in this. This is like a component that we want to pass things dynamically anyway. I would say also justify content. Maybe not a line item. Let's see, line item. I want a border radius of 10. Let's see. And margin bottom. So let's add 10. Yeah. Looks great. I think if I'm going back to this component, what was it? This is our carousel, and then carousel also has, okay, so this has the screen width on that. This container, Now the padding. Yeah, for now I just added here. Okay, so for these ones, like we will need to center the text as well, because the text is not center. We can say on these ones, center. Okay, what went wrong is like I made a mistake previously. The center should be a line, should be text aligned. Yes. Okay, great. Now we can do that. And also I just want to add a border to the selector one. Border width. Let's say like border color. Border color would be colors dot. May I use primary color? And then border width, I would say if it's selected 1, if it's not 0. So just only the ones that is selected has a border, so we know which one is more obvious. And the question item, so we have this text and we want just a space here between these two. So I would probably wrap this in another view. And would have like a style of styles dot question text. Maybe just we know it's not the container around the whole question component. Yeah, so this one, question text, would be margin button. Margin bottom is 20. Yeah, that looks great. Awesome. Maybe this also could be center as well, because it just looks a bit weird. Yeah, okay. So what time do you prefer to meditate? Then you add your answer. You can see like it's updating the answer and so forth. The next step would be, well, let's refresh this. Okay. By the way, Command R or Control R on Windows would refresh your simulator in case. And also Command D would open up this. You can go back to the home, reload. Anyway. Okay, so we got here. We got to this point that we don't want the user actually goes through all these questions, because we want make sure they answer each before and then press this and take them to the next one. Answer, press this, take to the next one. Okay, how do we do that? This is the interesting part. So we need to know where we are. Like we carousel index. Carousel index set carousel index. Okay. How do we know which of these questions right now is on this screen? There is a very easy way to do that. Okay, we need to pass these set carousel index and carousel index. You want to always control it from the parent, so we just pass this to the carousel question carousel. So we need these two. Let me just expand these. So yeah, we need these two here. Okay, now also we need to define the type for them. Index is, of course, it's number. Oh, so this is, yes, this is like a void. This is a function. Sorry, why am I doing? It's a function. This is a number. Great. So yeah, we're passing through here. There is something called, on the scroll has an event. And event basically, event has a native event inside. I just make sure that this exists. A native event, and it has a content offset X. So this basically, it returns on the scroll, it gives us this event. But basically it tells us a number, which is the distance from the beginning of this mapping, the beginning of the screen, which is at this point is 0. And then each time we scroll, it tells us exactly where it is. So this is now a length of one screen, which is 300, 400, whatever it is, it tells us. And also we know what the screen width is. We know like the screen width, for example, is 300 something. So if it gives us, for example, 300 right now, and we divide this, we know we are on index 1. So this is index 0, the question 0, index of the question 0, for example, we know on the carousel space, and this is the second one, this is the 1. So it divides the screen up to this point by the screen width that we know, and so on. So this is 2 times of the screen divided by this. So this is 2, index 3, index 4. So we always know what index it is, and we just put math around because it just gives us an integer when as we scroll. Let me just like show you how this looks like. So this event, basically, this event offset X, this is how it looks like. Let me just put it here. Okay, so as I scroll, you can see. Okay, we haven't set it anyway. Yeah, you can see it gives you these numbers with all these integers. That's why like we add, so set index, why it just says, because we haven't saved this probably. Yes, we haven't saved this. Let's get rid of this. Okay, now it's okay. So as you can see, it gives us this number. Let's save this. So we always like setting this index. We know like which question we are now. So now we know this is the question number 3. This is the question number 4 or whatever it is. And let's go back here. So we are passing this, and we also need passing ref. So we want to just control this carousel, this flat list by using the ref. When we press next, we say go to the next one, and it automatically does that. So we need a ref const, again, char ref is equal use ref. We initiate it with null, and this use ref, we pass it through. Then say carousel ref is a React object, and it's flat list ref basically. So we use it here and we pass it to ref. There is a ref on every component on React. There are different methods that you can see. For example, on flat list, there are different methods that you can use that I show you now, that you can control this component with a button. Whatever you want to go to the next one, last one, you can control it. So now we pass this through. We're going to have a next function. Basically, you just go to the next. And what do we want to do? It's basically like carousel index. We don't, if the carousel index is less than onboarding, so it's not the last one, or we can just create something, because we're going to use this a lot. Const, sorry, I can't say const. Const is last, which is this. If the carousel index is equal to onboarding question dot length the -1, it means it's the last one. So the length is always like index is to start from 0, length to start from 1. So you want to just make sure this is match. So you said if it's not last, so you don't want to move to the next one when there is nothing left. You say if it's not last, this is what it is, like carousel ref. So always use optional chaining here as well, because sometimes this is still null. It's still the component hasn't launched and this is null, so it's gonna crash your app. So it's carousel ref. You get the current. Ref always has a current object always inside. The current and the scroll to index. Which index? Carousel index +1. We want to go to the next one. Carousel index can be now 0 at this point. And we want to go to 1. So basically, wherever we are, we want to go to the next one. This is how you write it. And so we pass this on next to our next button. That's it. Next. And if you see, I press next, it goes to the next. Great. And yeah, just if you can see like here as well, there are 2 different buttons. I can just create another button here. The user probably goes to the next one, and then you want, probably like they make a mistake and they want to go back and correct their mistake. So we create another small button. Touchable opacity. I'll say back this Zen text. Okay. Zen text, touchable opacity. Yeah, on press. So you want to also create something called, what is this? Oh yeah, that was. We want icons on back. That's always you want to go back if the carousel index is greater than 0. So if it's 0, we don't want to go back because there's nothing that other side anyway. So same logic, current, set, scroll to the index, and instead of +1, we go -1. We go 1 back. Great. So I add this to touchable opacity on press, prop, on back, on back. So we have this, goes back to the first one and goes front. So also what else you can do is just make these less opacity. If like you can't go back, then you can just make this like this, for example. You just say, this is like very like details, basically help the user to know what they're doing. So I'm just like use opacity. Opacity, if the carousel is equal to 0, then the opacity would be something. If you can see, if I go, how have I done style? Yeah, style. Yeah, so if it's that, like you just less pronounced, this is disabled. And next. So okay, so what else do we want? On the next button, basically, what I want is like when it's just like gets to the end, the user knows this is the last part. So we just instead we say get it started. We say it's last. If it's last, we say let's start. And if it's not last, we say next. So if we go to the last one, it says let's start. Great. So this is once when we connect this to the database, when press this last one, it saves the data and moves into the app. Great. So we go back. What else do we want? I don't want the user to just move from this name if they haven't like filled it up. So we definitely need the user to just fill up all these as they go, and they can go to the next one, unless we don't let the user to do that. How this works is basically what I'm going to do is I create something called const is step completed. I can have it as a use memo as well. Let's use a use memo. Okay, did I do that? Let's see. What do we need? We need to first know where they are, which question actually we are asking. So we are saying like, no, this is not what we want. Okay, so if it's completed, like the step is completed, what we want is return. What is it? We need our answers. Like we need to know which answer we are. So we use this question onboarding. So I say question onboardings, and I use this carousel index. So this gives me which question we are on, and we have the key. We have the key. This is basically on each answer. For example, we know carousel is on the first one. So we grab this item because we say like the index of that, these questions, all of these questions. So this is the ones that we are choosing. And we are saying the key name. So we want to see if the name is actually filled. So your user has filled name. How do we do that? It's easy. So this is basically name, right? And we just use answer. Answers dot this. So if that exists, we use this to make it as a boolean. Let's do this. Yeah, use memo needs. I can close this. Use memo needs array of dependencies. This. Something's not right. So we need give this our answer and also this. Oh, we have already done this. That's why. Okay. Okay, let me just put this on 2 lines. So we go like that, like this. So we also like needs our answers as well. So like it updates the answer. Is the step completed? So the way that we can do this is basically I'll just create this function and say if it's the step is completed on next. If not, just do nothing. Easy. So at the moment it doesn't do anything because I haven't filled this up. If I just put this, my name, yeah, this one needs to be a function. If I put my name here, it goes to the next one. Now it doesn't. Let's go back. If I remove this, it does not work. And also you can use this as, if I go to the Zen button, then we can just create a disabled state. So these are like great for user experience. Disabled is equal, if the step is not completed, make the button disabled. So we can pass it as like a prop, which is a boolean, is optional. And we also say here again, disabled, no, sorry, opacity. If it's disabled, then this. And it should work. If it's disabled, let's go back. Yes. So now it's disabled. Okay. Also, I think like, how have I done? Okay. So sorry, like we don't need this. Actually, touchable opacity has a disabled state. So it just handles that for you. Yeah. Okay. For this. Okay. So actually, like we need to also pass this to the touchable opacity, because then touchable opacity doesn't do anything if it's disabled, doesn't flash or anything. So it's just basically, and also the function also doesn't work as well. So we can just do one other thing as well here. So we can say on press it's okay. And then we say if it's disabled or it's not loading. It's loading or it's disabled, then don't do anything. That's the state for the Zen button. So okay, at the moment nothing. Once I put just one thing, like you can see, it just turns on because now the step is completed. So we go to the next one, again not. Next one. So we get to this point and let's start. You can use actually this on your production, other stuff that you're doing on onboarding to have this really cool interaction. And something else just I add here is that at the moment you can just scroll these. So we don't want the user to scroll it. What I can do is where my flat list is, on flat list it says scroll enabled false. So now the user cannot scroll this. It just, they need to finish these steps and they can go to the next one. Okay, that's it for this episode. I hope you learned a lot of things in this dynamic onboarding process. Next episode, we are going to save the user data, for handling our state, we are creating a context to handle the user context, user data. Okay, there's one last thing that we need to do. Let me go back here. So this is the progress bar. So right here, we want to show the user that where they are on their onboarding process. Okay, we want to just create this part on the progress part. I can just create another component, say progress, or just maybe call this, we can call this progress steps. Okay, so what I want to pass, like I want to pass, yeah, the total step and current steps. So we want to know where we are, how many steps there are. That's easy to handle after that. So we are just creating the components. We create these progress steps TSX, stateless component, steps. We want to know, okay, our props is total steps and current step. Total step, current step, both numbers. How do we handle this? So we want to map through them, first of all. So I can do two different ways. I can just get the questions, onboarding questions here, basically, and map through them so I know how many they are and do it that way. Or I can just create an array.from, and the length of the array is a step. So it creates a dynamic array according to the length of total steps. And it passes steps, the index, and also it just creates, this is what it suggested. Let's see how it looks. Let me just also import this. Okay, you can see like all these dots. We need to style this. This is going to be flex direction would be row. So it just puts them next to each other. How do we know how much is the width of these steps? You can do this. This is also nice, but if you want to do similar to what is in the design, if you can see here, you can just calculate this basically. So you can just say the width. Let me just actually do this here. Return. I can say const step width. So steps are screen width. What am I doing? Screen width minus 2 times 20, which is like 20 from this side, 20 from the other side. That's how much like between these are. And then these all divide by total steps. So here, like what else we need to do? We minus, here we say like margin horizontal 5. We need to actually say margin right because we want to calculate from one side. And we say this 5, basically we also like needs to remove this. So that would be 5 times total steps. So how many steps there are? 5 times of that. So that gives us this basically the exact thing that we want. The height is a bit too much. We just want 8, maybe even 5, 6. Okay, so now it looks okay. So now, if you see also here, the background color, we said if index is equal to current step. So we know like this is index 0, index 1, index 2. How we want to do this is colors dot, let's say our text color, which is white, and then we say opacity. Then opacity, we would say if index is equal to current step 1, then if it's not, maybe less, even 3. Okay, great. And what happens now, basically, if you see, to go to the next one, we'll just like fill all of them. Whenever we pass through them, all of them becomes white as all the progress are. So you just like need to say if its index is greater than, sorry, it's less than current step. So all the index of these, for example, 0 or whatever, like the current index is like 3. We say if it's the index is less than this, probably less than equal of this. Yes. So you go back. Yeah, less than equal. Then it's the full opacity. And you can see it can just go. Yeah, it's updating. Okay, that's it for this episode. We have all the UI elements and all these dynamically going through the onboarding. For next episode, we are going to add the user data. After we collect all these answers from the user, we add all these to Firestore. And from there, we know that the user has done this and we send them to the app. Thanks for watching this episode. If it was helpful for you, please give a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. See you in next episode.